In Paradise Lost, we see the symbolism of marriage continuing more ancient embodied feeling about the relation between human beings and nature with a capital N, even after the fall. But we also see the transition toward the modern sense of nature with a small n as the natural world around us, rather than a mysterious essence beyond essentialism. In Milton, nature is more artificial bower than mysterious garden, to use Spencer's metaphors. Nonetheless, we see in Milton's Satan, following Ken Hiltner's study on Milton and ecology, a critique of modern individualism. In The Complete Angler by Isaac Walton, the embodied feeling of fly fishing serves a symbolic role similar to marriage in our earlier poetry. And seeming to echo Walton, The Wind in the Willows provides the reader with experience of relating to a personified river through its animal fable. The mole was bewitched, entranced, fascinated. By the side of the river he trotted as one trots when very small, by the side of a man who holds one spellbound by exciting stories, and when tired at last, he sat on the bank, while the river still chattered on to him, a babbling procession of the best stories in the world, sent from the heart of the earth to be told at last to the insatiable sea. It is such a relationship with nature with a capital N, nature as meaningful, as in Native American animal fables, that the philosopher David Bentley Hart advanced, half-jokingly, as the basis for a political philosophy that rejected any objectifying ideology, but emphasized communication and love. Love as intensely personal and bodily empathy is evoked in Annie Dillard's writing, exemplifying Charles Peirce's view of how the self is formed in sign relation. Not only Dillard's authorial persona, but especially us as readers in her intertextual and personal embodied encounter with nature with a capital N and a small n at Tinker Creek. Dillard draws on the same via negativa, or mystical hierarchy, that is the spiritual basis for our earlier poets, especially Chaucer and Spencer, and also for Dostoevsky. Yet she also draws on the kind of American transcendentalist wilderness tradition that traces back to Milton, along with newer scientific approaches of ecology and quantum physics that loop back to mysticism. Both Dostoevsky and Dillard in our readings aren't focused on marriage literally as a symbol of nature with a capital N, but they are in effect focused on an ascetic, cosmic marriage of self with nature with a capital N, which was the mystery behind the symbolism of marriage in the tradition of the Via Negativa. This was the cosmic marriage of monastics and of spiritual community with the divine, symbolized by nature with a capital N. This is even evident in the parable of the Grand Inquisitor by Dostoevsky. A central focus of it is Christ's ascetic experience in the desert wilderness, not unlike the ascetic experience of bodily and spiritual experience articulated by Dillard on a more private level, or the experience of Piscator, Walton's angler, on his river, or in a different way of readers of Chaucer and Spencer, and Milton experiencing different kinds of encounter with mystery of nature with a capital N, or even of human nature in Milton's case. Asceticism means exercise in Greek, like martial arts or Zen meditation or yoga. In a sense, it means tuning one's body as a symbol into nature's pansemiotism, although in specific spiritual contexts and different traditions. How could you approach doing a nature text reading of Dillard and Dostoevsky? First, with Dillard, find a passage such as her famous passage about the bell. I had been my whole life a bell and never knew it until at that moment I was lifted and struck. Then consider, how is the meaning of this passage about nature reaching to be embodied feeling through style, diction, tone, analogies, context, and use of metonymic iconography as discussed in class, physically based metaphor. How could it be explained using the Menem's rubric? How could self be said to be formed in the reading of it? How does it relate to the overlay landscape or environment of Tinker Creek and of Dillard's 1970s America, with the environmental movement, science, and other social contexts? How does it relate to Dillard's background in Thoreau, and even to the earlier spiritual tradition of nature writing in English that we've been studying, the via negativa, or mystical hierarchies? In terms of authorial perspective, what kind of tradition or ethos is it transmitting? How does it shape time-plexity for the reader's experience? Is it expressing pansemiotism, and how, if so? Is it following the mythopoeic tradition of experiential engagement of the reader that A. Hyatt found in English cosmic poetics? In Dostoevsky's writing, Elder Zozima's words clearly are about nature. But what about the Grand Inquisitor, perhaps the most famous chapter from all his books? It is a story within a story that the text cues us to experience, both through the two characters, Ivan and Alyosha, and their different perspectives, and through our own engagement as readers with mythic figures of the Grand Inquisitor and of Christ. Basically, it suggests a confrontation between meaningfulness and meaningless materialism, between the worldview of the Grand Inquisitor and mystery. The mystery of the silence of Christ and his kiss is the mystery of the via negativa, celebrated by Dillard and by Chaucer and Spencer, and in a more veiled way by Paradise Lost's critique of Satan's will to power and its focus on marriage. The physical kiss is embodied meaning, but the self is formed here in the symbolic interactions of all the perspectives and characters, in the environment of the wilderness of the gospel story that is critiqued, and of the Russian overlay landscape practiced by Dostoevsky, as well as the cultural context of resistance to modernization. The text includes use of metaphor, narrative, emotion, or empathy, memes, and story, menems, to link different perspectives, a plexity of time, tradition, and environment in a broad sense. The story may not seem like nature writing, but it is about the interaction or overlap between nature with a capital N and nature with a small n that has in many ways been a central topic of our reading throughout. Behind nature and environment, we see the more ancient and primordial terms of phusis, or hidden and revealed nature as one, and of ktesis, or creation, the sense of the physical earth as a gift relationship in a personal gift economy rather than a technocratic one, and cosmos, meaning adornment or beauty, a personal earth involving experience of place. For the overlapping of umwelts in semiospheres and of semiospheres and ecosemiospheres is another way of envisioning the personal communication and meaningfulness of the ecology of symbols and ultimately of poetics.